Hi, I'm Stella Soleil, and in the last episode, I was talking about my father and um, all the missing money. And eventually, after my father passed away, my brother was going through his paperwork, and he did find receipts cut from Catharsis Records, paying my mother's taxes, and so my family actually finally believed me after his death when my brother found the receipts for that. And then my mother and I, at that point, when she realized that I hadn't been making this up all along, she and I got very close. And to this day, my mom is like my best friend. So having said that about my family, I'm going to talk about being in London now, the second time. So the irony is I'm put up in, so when I moved from the Hempel Hotel, the flat that I was in, to Eaton Place in SW1, which was the most exclusive part of London. It's a row of, you've seen it in movies. It's where all the embassies are. And in fact, my unit, my flat, was right next door to the Italian embassy. It's a row of white, like 3 flats, and it's outrageously expensive. And it was literally like living in a museum. It's like 20-foot ceilings, and these, like, it was cold and drafty and had these dark, heavy drapes on these huge windows, and it was it had to have been like nearly $15,000 a month just to stay there. And the irony is that I was so poor, but I was living like in what looked like a castle museum. And so I told Universal, I'm like, I don't have money for food. So they started giving me 150 pounds per diem to buy groceries once a week. But I knew that my parents were really struggling with money back home. And so I would take 100 pounds out of the 150 and go down to the HSBC bank, convert it into American dollars, which meant 100 pounds was approximately 150, 170 US dollars. And I would mail my parents every week a $170 check so that they could buy groceries. And I literally lived for months in this towering, place next to the Italian embassy on 50 pounds a week. That's what I was eating. So I was living on like peanut butter and cereal and like bread. And so I was super skinny. And I did this, where I was sending my family back out of my per diem, like the entire year that I was there and I was getting that per diem, I was giving them 100 pounds of it. And like I said, just not driven by money, and could not bear the thought of my family suffering or anything like that. I wouldn't have been able to work. So I would rather starve than have my family starve. So, but it was really, this place that I was in was super depressing. It was very dark, and I was meeting with writers, and I met with some really incredible writers like Terry Ronald. Terry Ronald wrote a lot of music for Kylie Minogue and Danny Minogue, and I started writing with him. He would come over to my really depressing like museum to work, and even he said, like, this place is just not you at all. This place does not fit your personality. I mean, my upstairs neighbors, wrote a note and put a note on the door scolding me for not rinsing out my milk jugs before the milkman would pick up the milk. So in London, they have a milkman that delivers milk, and in these little jugs, and you would put them outside the door when you were finished, and he would pick up the empties and bring you new milk. And so the only communication that I had with my neighbors was this nasty note that my neighbor wrote for not rinsing out my milk jugs. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm moving. This place is it's too expensive. It's gonna come back on me. This money that was being spent on me, I had to recoup that. So that meant that when I would sell records, all this money would get paid back to the label. So essentially, they're spending my money, even though it's not in my pocket. I'm gonna owe it to them when my record comes out. So I found in the newspaper this place that was for rent in a cool part of London called Islington, which was really like a stone throw from the Tate Modern Museum. The Tate Modern, amazing. Oh my God, it was such an incredible museum, and contemporary museum, contemporary art. And it's kind of like a lot of artists live in Islington. So, and it looked like a New York loft, it looked like a New York. So I found the place. It cost half the amount of money as the place on Eaton Place, and I moved to Islington, and I was so much happier. And it was modern, and and Tony Swain and I, were rolling, and he kept putting me with these incredible writers, Pam Shane, who wrote Genie in a Bottle. That was kind of mind-blowing because Pam Shane wrote Genie in a Bottle for Christina Aguilera, and Christina had come to work with Pam Shane, and I think that Christina Aguilera kind of, not mimicked, but I think she kind of developed her style by working with Pam Shane, because if you hear Pam Shane sing, like if you think Christina Aguilera's voice is incredible, you should hear Pam Shane sing, and it's just like, oh my God. And so I wrote with her, and the songs, they were good. The songs were good. I was so scared of writing pop, but I was learning so much from these pop writers, and really on song crafting, and how to write strong hooks, and how to, write the elevated chorus, the hooky elevated pop chorus. And, there's an art to this. So it wasn't so scary anymore that I was, destroying the artist in myself to become a pop machine, because this was a craft, and it was just a new craft for me, and it was a new way of writing and learning from these very experienced writers. And then I was sent to Sweden to work with the Merlin Music guys, who did all of Britney Spears' records, Toxic and all of that. That was Merlin Music, and I worked with Bloodshy, and wow, Sweden was incredible. I had incredible experiences working in Sweden. And Tony Swain, my A&R guy, I told you he was very talented. He's the guy that kept putting me with these amazing writers, and then I got to work with the guys that wrote Cher's big hit Believe, do you believe in life after love, that song. So I wrote with them, and we went to the south of France. We went to Nice, and we flew into Saint-Tropez, or no, we flew into Nice, and then took a helicopter from Nice to Saint-Tropez in this 9-bedroom villa with a remote recording studio. And that was my first experience with a nude beach. Our villa was right on the beach, and in the south of France, they wear nothing on the beach. Nothing. People of all ages, all sizes, grandmothers, grandfathers, all hanging out. And so I was wearing a bathing suit, and I looked way, way, way overdressed, and people were looking at me weird. I mean, I could see like penises and stuff. It was really weird. It was very bizarre. And I eventually did wind up taking off my top, but I just couldn't bring myself to do the full Monty thing. But that was as close to being nude on a nude beach as I got. Yeah, we recorded in this villa in Saint-Tropez. We had a chef, and it was an incredible experience. And so when I came back to London, I had all these collections of songs from these amazing writers. David Erickson. Oh, I went to Norway too, and I worked with David Erickson in Norway, and I wrote the song "You" with him. And and then Tony says, "I have to talk to you," and I said, "Okay." He goes, "You're doing great. You're making a great record. Here's the thing. We have a hit for you." He said, "It is an absolute smash hit for you to cover if you want to. If you want this record to sell and you put this hit song on this record, it will sell. It's bona fide. It's already sold 4 million copies in Turkey alone." And he said, "You need to listen to it. It's in Turkish right now. We would do it in English. But you have to decide if you want to do this, because I don't think you're going to like the song." And oh my God. I listened to the song. It was in Turkish. The artist that was doing the song, his name was Tarkan, and I didn't understand the lyrics, of course, because they were in Turkish, but all I could remember from this song was he was making these kissing noises with his mouth. He was going, oh, it's so embarrassing. He was going like that, and that was like the big hook in the song. And I told Tony, I'm like, no way in hell am I doing this song. I can't do this song. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's such a novelty song. I mean, I can't do it. And Tony said, okay, you don't have to do it, but everybody really wants you to do it. And if you do it, your record will probably go to number 1, and then you can make any kind of record that you want to make. Then you'll be in a position to do whatever you want to do. If you do this song and it breaks, you will be in a position to do anything you want after that. So I agreed. I agreed to do this song. And that's where I'm going to stop there and talk about it in the next episode. The sparkle in your eyes.
keeps me alive.